Call to order, Board of Trustees regular meeting, Thursday, February 16th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. Roll call. Mayor Pro Tem Bremblo.
Present.
Trustee Lopez.
Present.
Trustee Mercer.
Present.
Trustee Archuleta.
Present.
Thank you. Opening prayer. I will do the opening prayer, and Mayor Pro Tem, would you lead us in the pledge, please? Lord, we ask that you guide us in making the correct decisions for the village of Milan. We ask that with this cold weather, you watch and protect the homeless. We ask that you protect our first responders. We ask that you protect those that have to work in this weather. Finally, we ask that you protect our troops. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the agenda. Any changes to the agenda? If not, I need a motion to approve the agenda, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I second it.
Motion by Trustee Archuleta, second by Trustee Lopez. Mayor Pro Tem Bremblo.
Yes.
Trustee Mercer.
Yes.
Trustee Archuleta.
Yes.
Trustee Lopez.
Yes.
Thank you. Public comments. Do we have anybody? Okay.
Coach, if I could,
Yes.
my name is Matt Allen, and you've given 3 minutes for public comments. I actually requested to be put on the agenda, but it didn't happen, so my wife tells me I've never said anything in 3 minutes, so just a little extra time. We purchased the CJ Feed building some time ago, a couple of years ago, and after debating on what to do with it, et cetera, we've decided to put in a dispensary. And it's kind of an odd thing because we're not users, but we're business people. And we need something easier to do for the future than the sawmill, which is a difficult business. So there's a couple of things that I want to discuss. And one is, I was told by J.E. Strickland that he talked to somebody with the village about putting a grow house in a tent structure inside the building. And he was told that they wouldn't sell him water. And I don't know if that's accurate, if he misunderstood, but it's kind of an odd thing because I think the village, we need income for whatever. And so I wanted to just bring it to your attention on the off chance that we could get a different answer or find out why or whatever, because it's not going to stop what they're going to do. They're going to have to truck water in and just make it more expensive. And more expensive, that comes off of your overall profit, and that lowers taxes, and that affects the village. So that was one item that I wanted to discuss. The other one is I've got the ordinances here, and they state that a drive-through window will not be allowed. And we had planned to put one in, and I'll explain why. Historically, before cannabis was legalized, people go to their doctor, and virtually any doctor would go, "Oh, sure, you want cannabis? Here's your medical card," and they'd go buy their cannabis. And a whole lot of people were faking illnesses or whatever to get their medical card. But now they don't need to. So the people that have medical cards are truly sick. And the problem that I have with we want to put a bank-style bulletproof glass window in and be able to service people that are ill. And they can drive up, and we're planning to put a sign that says, medical only or handicapped only sales. And so I'm requesting a variance to that. There's only one dispensary in the state of New Mexico that has a window where people can get to it. And so if we narrow it down and we say the people that are no longer using a medicinal card to get cannabis, they can walk in the front door. They don't need that card, et cetera, et cetera. The remaining people, as I said, they've actually got health problems, and we're forcing them to pull up, get out of their car, go inside. It could be somebody with cancer, whatever. And it bothers me because I actually try to put myself in the shoes of somebody else that, it's an issue. And the other thing is, I suspect it's a violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Not that I'm going to go after anybody, not my style at all, but I suspect that might be true, and consequently I would request a variance. We think it would be a good addition. To give the village an idea of what we think we can do with this shop, there is a dispensary at the intersection of, I believe it's San Antonio and I-25, so it's pretty close to El Paso. And granted, there are more vehicles going by than what we have on I-40. But the average on I-40 is about 15,800 vehicles per day going by. That little dispensary in August of last year did $502,000 in business. So we're talking a considerable amount of gross receipts tax to come to the village, et cetera. And so I know there's a lot of people that look at it and go, cannabis, it's dope smokers and all this, and we're going to have the scumbags around and blah, 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 blah. But frankly, Renee and I, in trying to get ideas for our shop, we've been to multiple dispensaries, and I've yet to see anybody that just didn't look like an average American. No scumbags, no troublemakers, no gangers. I haven't seen any of that. So, and then the last subject, if you'll entertain this thought, as you go past the sawmill, you've got that little house out there. And I've made it a practice, although they closed the gates recently, but then somebody opened them again, I guess. But anyway, I've gone by that house. I can go that way and go around to my house because I live in Ralph Card's old house. And it's a little quicker than the freeway, and I don't have to wait on trains if there is one. And I've called the village a number of times, 3, 4 maybe, where somebody has kicked in the front door and entered the house, and the workers here go out, repair it, et cetera, and that's great. But I have a guy who is from Seattle, Washington. He came down to load logs and also drive a log truck for us so we can get more material. And we've been suffering since the Mexican spotted owl lawsuit in 2020, along with COVID, et cetera. Weather stoppages, all this, and we're really struggling with the sawmill, and I'm curing that. But he's very interested in living in that little house, and he's a nice guy. He's one of those guys that hits retirement age and doesn't want to quit. He's 73 years old, but he moved here from Seattle so he could, do logging. And I know the house is trashed. It has to be because the door open and the sand inside, etc. But he said that if the village would consider letting him stay there, he'll clean it up and take care of it. And I've seen his house in the Seattle area, and it's a nice home. It looks well cared for, etc. I did a background check on him and Googled his address so I would know a little bit before I brought him down here. So that's the other one I had for you that I'm requesting some help on. And then the last one is that due to the truck drivers, Loves, Chaco, and prevailing winds, that fence in front of the CJ building is constantly inundated with urine-filled bottles from the truckers and garbage out the window, and et cetera, et cetera. And today, as I headed home, I saw a pickup truck out there, and they were parked parallel, and I had already committed to go over the railroad tracks, so once I did, I flip-flopped and went back, and I drove up there, and it was a village truck. And there was 2 young men out there, and they were raking and cleaning. And so the last subject is I stopped and thanked them, and I want to thank you all because it was bad, and it'll get bad again. But I was really thrilled to see that positive step taken to clean it up a little bit. I've had my guys clean it up, but it gets trashed again. So last thing, so you know about the dispensary, we're looking to put in something. It's not a classy building per se, but when you go inside, we're going to shoot for a nice place to go in and shop and et cetera, et cetera. So that's it.
How many jobs would that provide?
Probably, well, on our side, we're not doing the grow. And by the way, that was the missing one. I know some of you know the Stricklands, Jim Ed Strickland and Kathy Strickland. They want to grow, and they're like us. They're about the same age as we are, and they're not users or whatever, but they're intrigued by it. And their son is a horticulturist, and he is growing. J.E. is, that's the one that said that the village wouldn't sell water, and he's involved with another company anyway, growing for them, and he's going to guide his mom and dad, but he can't really step in and help them. We like them. They're really good people. They're decent people. And we're going to, if that building is 6,000 square feet, we're going to use about 1,600. And they want to put grow tents on the inside. And so I don't know how many jobs they'll create. We're thinking probably 5 on our side, which I understand is not a whole lot, but they're going to be high paying jobs also.
5 more than we have now.
Exactly. So, and I also at the mill we're putting we've got a new head rig, which is the main component that breaks logs down into lumber, and we get that running. We're working on it real hard right now. I'm hoping in a month or so it'll be running, and that's going to require us to hire some people as well. So we'll replace some of them that we've lost over the last few years. So, okay.
You think we should get our heads together down here and discuss it, and then we will get.
I appreciate it. Renee and I have a meeting in Albuquerque tomorrow morning, so we're headed that way to. But yeah, thank you. Okay.
We'll get together and then we'll. Let you know.
I appreciate it very much.
Yes, sir.
Have a good evening.
Do we have anybody else?
So, the COG was supposed to do their 6-month update. I don't see them here, but if they come in later, would you allow them to speak?
Sure. He didn't want to show up anymore. Okay. Now we move to approval of minutes. Board of Trustees regular meeting, January 19th, 2023. Board of Trustees hearing, January 26th, 2023. And Board of Trustees special meeting, January 26th, 2023.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting, January 19th, 2023, hearing on January 26th, 2023, and the special meeting on January 26th, 2023. I'll second it.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Brumbelow, second by Trustee Lopez. Trustee Mercer.
Yes.
Trustee Archuleta.
Yes.
Trustee Lopez.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brumbelow.
Yes.
Thank you. Action discussion. Acceptance of Municipal Court Cash Journal for January 2023. Questions? If not, I need a motion to accept, please.
I make a motion to accept the municipal court cash journal for January 2023.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Brumbelow, second by Trustee Mercer. Trustee Lopez.
Yes.
Trustee Mercer.
Yes.
Trustee Archuleta.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brumbelow.
Yes.
Thank you. Approval of finance report, January 2023.
All right, so this covers the month of January, from January 1st through January 31st. We received 273,929.21 in GRTs. That was an increase. I don't know if you remember, but last month we were down about 20,000. So it's going back up. Still have not figured out why we went down, but we're still looking into it. It could have just been the month that was reporting around Thanksgiving. All accounts are in balance, all departments are within their budget authority, and there are no negative cash balances. We paid 149 payables last month with a total of 81 payments. We paid $232,021.08. We had 79 regular checks, 1 voided check, and 1 bank draft. We're working on starting to wind down the purchasing as we're approaching the end of the fiscal year. I know that sounds crazy in February, but it's coming quicker than we'd like. So we'll do a soft close in April, which means that they can't order anything that's going to take longer than 2 weeks to ship in. And then as of May 1st, we'll shut the budget down completely. That gives us a chance to receive all the goods and get them all paid for before we have to close out the fiscal year. So we're working on that. Finance department is busy working on checks and balances, water deposits and processes, setting us up for the end of fiscal year and for the audit. We did such a great job on our audit. We want to keep in there, so we're taking the same steps we took last year. We're following the same schedule, making sure that we do 3 or 4 internal audits before the big auditors come. So we're working on that. We're also taking the guidance given to us last month and working on the salaries and preliminary budget numbers. Legislation right now kind of has us on hold, trying to figure out what they're going to do. But once that decision is made, then we'll have concrete numbers for you guys to look at. And that's pretty much all that I have.
Okay. Any questions?
I had a question. On your check to Cibola General Hospital for $27.50, is that what was that for?
Let me look. So it would be for physicals, $27.50 sounds like, huh? Yeah, physicals and drug tests. That is, and I think that was a combination of multiple physicals and drug tests. And I can always pull that and look at exactly who it was paid for, which payables were included in that check in my office if you need.
And one of the problems is we're working with the hospital because they've gotten behind on their billing. So that's why you're seeing such a large number.
And also that check to, what was that? I know it was for one of the projects. My project was for the 34,000.
34,017 cents.
Road.
Yes.
Denise knows those by heart.
And that's all.
Any more questions? Anybody else? If not, I need a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the finance report for January 2023.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Brumble, second by Trustee Lopez. Mercer,
Yes.
Trustee Archuleta,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brumble,
Yes.
Trustee Lopez. Thank you. Resolution 2023-006, participation in hardship sale.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, this resolution is to allow us to purchase auction equipment from the state and I guess the federal government. Is that correct? So I believe it is every year that they require us to do a resolution stating that we are interested and that we will be able to purchase those items if we so desire.
And I think, if I'm correct, those items are used here at the offices and you get them at a pretty good discount, or?
I believe they're in Santa Fe.
Yeah.
You have to go to Santa Fe to look them over, and then I believe that they have to bid on them. Some of them, I think, may have a standalone price, but I think most of it, you have to bid on it.
Okay,
Sometimes you get equipment at really reasonable rates
Yeah.
as well.
that's a good thing.
On that resolution, the number is different. It's got 009 and on the agenda it says
006.
006.
It should be a 9, I apologize for that.
Okay.
Good job, Rose. Okay, with that correction, I need a motion to approve, please.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2023-009 for hardship sales.
I'll second.
Motion by Trustee Mercer, second by Trustee Lopez. Trustee Archuleta,
Yes.
Trustee Lopez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brumble,
Yes.
Trustee Mercer.
Yes.
Thank you. Annual PERA report for fire volunteers.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, this is something that we do every year. It gives those individuals that have participated in a certain number of fires or meetings a credit for their retirement. And Daniel's here to answer any questions you might have about it.
Do we have any questions? Anybody have questions for the chief? No? Well, you don't need to get up then, sir. If not, I need a motion to approve, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the annual PERA report for fire volunteers.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Trustee Archuleta, second by Mayor Pro Tem Brumbelow. Trustee Mercer.
Yes.
Trustee Lopez.
Yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem Brumbelow.
Yes.
Trustee Archuleta.
Yes.
Thank you. Resolution 2023-001, open meeting resolution.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, this resolution was in your packets last meeting. However, there was an item that needed to be included, and that was for the videotaping. So we got the proper wording, it was inserted, and now we are presenting it back to you for approval.
Any questions?
It's one they handed out, right?
Yeah, that was last. Any other questions? If not, I need a motion to approve it, please.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2023-001, open meetings resolution.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Trustee Archuleta, second by Mayor Pro Tem Brumbelow. Trustee Lopez.
Yes.
Trustee Mercer.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brumbelow.
Yes.
Trustee Archuleta.
Yes.
Thank you.
We gotta change that as well.
There's one right here.
We got 2022 on this one.
Sorry, guys.
So that's just typo. Did you catch that too? That was good.
Should get it changed real quick and get you to sign.
Yeah.
Okay. Building facility use agreement.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, this is something that we've worked very diligently at for the last year to get the proper the proper agreement for the facility use that you all were comfortable with. And so we gave you this to review, and the only thing we've added was the fact that that this is a zone-free, an alcohol zone-free facility, as well as a village property. And we're asking that you would approve it tonight.
Okay, I have one question. The concession stand at soccer field, that of course belongs to the village, but AYSO uses soccer field. Are they going to be charged to use the concession stand?
That's something we haven't discussed at this point, partly because it's not actually up and running,
But
but we haven't made a decision there.
okay, but the same thing with the Kearns. That's why I brought it up, because we don't want to go through an expense of getting a concession stand for Kearns, because there they have the flag football, and it's not through the village. So,
And that's something that we need to get together and discuss. So we have the guidelines that will allow us to do what we need to do there.
Soccer's opening weekend is, I believe, the first or second weekend in March. So those buildings should be ready by then. So they're probably going to want to know right away.
Yeah, we should do some or something.
my opinion is we should not charge them. You know, they should use it and clean it, but that's up to everybody else. Okay, so do we vote on that now as it is, or do we wait and vote on it after we figure out if we're going to charge those people or not?
That'd be a different one. This is for the buildings, correct?
Yes,
To
this is
rent
for
the
the
buildings.
facility use.
Yeah, that's for the concession stand, and
Yeah, they shouldn't. We should.
I don't think so either. But
As far as the building agreement, everything's pretty much the same. We're still doing the same process for the applications and everything else. So nothing was changed on this from the last time we discussed it.
That is correct. The only thing that was changed was that it does state that it's an alcohol free zone.
So
then it will not
we
be
never came
permitted.
up with anything as far as a shorter application for certain people instead of,
Well, that was
Different parentheses.
it's a two-page
oh, okay.
application.
So that's when I
So
missed
it
it.
is a short one.
Anybody else? Okay, do I hear a motion to approve with the stipulation that we'll get together and figure out the concession?
Motion that we approve the building facility use agreement, and at a later date, we will discuss the concession stand at Kearns and the soccer field.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Brumble, second by Trustee Archuleta. Trustee Lopez?
Yeah.
Trustee Mercer?
Yes.
Trustee Archuleta?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brumble?
Yes.
Thank you. Status report on Congressional authorization and state funding for Rio San Jose local settlement agreement.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, it's good to see everyone again. Thanks for having me here. I'm gonna make part of my presentation in the open session regarding the status of the Rio San Jose water rights settlement process. And the second part of my presentation concerns ongoing settlement negotiations that are covered by a confidentiality agreement between the settlement parties, and so we'll talk about that in the executive session. Before I bring you up to speed on where we are now with the water rights settlement agreement, and this is the settlement agreement to resolve the water rights claims of Acoma and Laguna Pueblo in the Rio San Jose stream system. Let me just briefly kind of recap how we got here. As you know, the local settlement parties, which are Village of Milan, City of Grants, the Acequias, the Pueblos of Laguna and Acoma, and the state of New Mexico, entered into a settlement agreement last summer. I believe it was finally signed by all the local parties in June. And that settlement agreement is intended to fully resolve the two Pueblos' water rights claims in the Rio San Jose stream system, which also includes the Blue Water groundwater basin. And those claims were part of the litigation that has gone on for decades in the State v. Kerr-McGee case. That case was filed in 1982. And these claims were litigated, and the parties decided to try to settle them about 10, 15 years ago. We reached a local agreement. I presented that agreement to you, I believe, in May of last year for your consideration, and that agreement was approved and executed by the Board of Trustees at that time. So that agreement that's now been signed by all the local parties, we refer to that as the local settlement agreement. And for the local settlement agreement to become final and enforceable, a handful of conditions have to be met. And there's really two main conditions. And the first is a federal process. And because the United States has a trust responsibility to the Pueblos, Congress has to enact legislation that approves settlement of the Pueblos' water rights claims on the terms laid out in the settlement agreement. So Congress has to approve that, and then also because the settlement agreement provides for federal money for wet water projects so the Pueblos can use those water rights, Congress has to appropriate those funds. So that's really the first step toward finalizing the settlement agreement. Once that happens, once Congress enacts legislation, then the focus shifts back to New Mexico. And at that point, the New Mexico legislature has to pass legislation to fund the settlement projects for the non-Pueblo parties. That includes Milan, Grants, and the Acequias. So the settlement agreement, you may recall, provides for approximately $11 million in water infrastructure and sewer infrastructure projects for the village. Those monies are appropriated by the New Mexico legislature after Congress approves the settlement agreement. So those are the two major steps to completing the settlement agreement. Once those conditions are met, the Kerr-McGee Court will enter a final order and decree, and it'll incorporate the terms of the settlement agreement, and all the parties will then be bound by its terms. And at that point, the settlement funds, including Milan's money, can be dispersed for those projects. So where are we now? I'll start with the settlement parties' efforts in Congress since you executed the local settlement agreement last summer. So after all the local parties signed the settlement agreement, we began drafting federal legislation, a bill for Congress to pass that would approve the settlement. We finished that drafting early in the fall. It was sent to New Mexico's congressional delegation, and I will say that most of the delegation was very enthusiastic about the legislation, and Senator Heinrich agreed to sponsor the bill on the Senate side, and it was sponsored in the House by Representatives Leisure Fernandez and Stansberry. The bill went to the Senate Indian Affairs Committee in November of last year, and it passed out a hearing with support from the committee. And we were on a good trajectory, but we were getting down to the wire at the end of the year, in the end of that congressional term. And unfortunately, we just ran out of time. The timing of the legislation just being at the end of the, I think it's the 2021 Congress, which is a 2-year Congress, and also the fact that our legislation coincided with that massive omnibus spending bill that hit at the end of 2022. That bill just sucked all the oxygen out of everything, and the Pueblos and their lobbyists, who were really the ones on the ground in DC, they attempted to, or tried to get our bill bootstrapped onto that big omnibus bill, but that was unsuccessful, and the term ended without a vote on our bill. So what that means for us now is that we have to reintroduce the federal legislation. We're in a different Congress. So a new bill is being finalized at this time. This new bill will be a combined settlement bill for our settlement, the Rio San Jose settlement agreement. It will also include the Jemez settlement agreement, which settles the water rights claims of Jemez and Zia Pueblos. And that bill is going to be sponsored this time by Senator Heinrich again, but also Senator Lujan has agreed as to be a co-sponsor, which is good. That's going to be introduced in the Senate in the next week or two. Now, different story on the House side. As you know, the Republicans took control of the House, so we now have new House leadership, and that is going to affect the strategy for moving the bill forward on that side of Congress. The Pueblos lobbyists, some of whom are Republicans, have a really good relationship with a number of the more prominent Republican House members. Their sense is that we probably have a better shot of getting the bill through the House during the second year of this Congress, which is 2024. It's an election year. People are more amenable to the idea of spending money. So for now, the plan is to move the bill through the Senate, and we'll see what happens on the House side. I will keep the village apprised of the status of that legislation once it's introduced in the next few weeks. And again, based on what I'm hearing from the Pueblos and their lobbyists, I think our best chance of getting the Settlement Act signed into law is probably calendar year 2024. So, switching gears to what's going on in the New Mexico legislature right now during this session. So even though we don't have a congressionally approved settlement agreement, there are some important things that we can try to accomplish right now during this New Mexico legislative session. And I think the most important thing is getting the legislature to start setting aside money for the settlement projects. Milan settlement projects, grant settlement projects, the acequias. While the state is flush with revenue, they have more money than they know how to spend right now, and we can certainly advise them to spend some of that, bank it really, because it can't be spent now, but they can appropriate it and essentially escrow it for future use for these settlement projects when our settlement agreement becomes final. And just to give you an idea of the numbers that we're talking about, the state's cost share obligation under our settlement, the Rio San Jose settlement, is approximately $36 million. The Jemez settlement agreement, which is on the same timeline as our settlement, is the state's cost share obligation under that is approximately $20 million. And then I'll note that there are other Indian water rights settlements in the works that could all potentially come back to the legislature at the same time as our settlement. And what we don't want is to be in a situation where the New Mexico legislature is being asked to appropriate tens or potentially hundreds of millions of dollars for its cost share obligation under these settlements if the state is in a severe recession or an economic downturn. We want the state to start setting aside some of those funds now. Obviously, they're not going to put aside that entire amount in this session, but I mean, 10 million, 15 million, just sort of banking it for the future. So there are a few avenues in which to try and accomplish this. Milan State Senator Munoz, is sponsoring a spending bill, Senate Bill 241, which could serve as a vehicle for banking some of these funds in the Indian Water Rights Settlement Fund, which is a specific fund set up to hold these settlement project funds. That bill is introduced. It's going to be going to the Judiciary Committee probably tomorrow. I've already met with Mayor Gonzalez and Village Manager Linda Cook to discuss this bill, and reaching out to Senator Munoz to communicate Milan's support for SB 241 with certain amendments that need to happen to that bill to allow for this money to be appropriated and set aside for our settlement agreement. I think the prospects for passage of SB 241 are good. The state engineer supports it. It's co-sponsored with Senator Cervantes, and I think it will likely pass, and at this point I'm confident that it will pass with the amendment that we need in order to get this money set aside. I will keep the village updated on the status of that bill, and I will also confer with Ms. Cook on efforts that the village can make to reach out directly to various legislators to confirm the village's support for that legislation. Really briefly, there may be another bill on the House side that will accomplish the same thing. It's very early in that process, so I really can't report any more on that at this time. But I think we're on a good trajectory with that one bill. So that's all I have as far as reporting on the legislative process for the settlement. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time. I think
what I've been told is that 241 has a very good chance.
That's what I'm hearing, Mr. Mayor. And I mean, I think that we've got good sponsors. And I'm confident that will pass.
Nobody else has questions? Anything? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we will go into executive session pursuant to section 10-15-1H1-8. The following matters may be discussed in closed session. I need a motion to go into closed session, please.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session.
I'll second.
Motion by trustee Lopez, seconded by trustee Archuleta. Mayor Pro Tem Brumlow.
Yes.
Trustee Mercer.
Yes.
Trustee Lopez.
Yes.
Trustee Archuleta.
Yes.
Thank you. We will now go into closed session. Okay. We're going to reconvene our meeting. I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to reconvene after the closed session.
I'll second.
Motion by trustee Mercer, seconded by trustee Archuleta. Mayor Pro Tem Brumlow.
Yes.
Trustee Lopez.
Yes.
Trustee Mercer.
Yes.
Trustee Archuleta.
Yes.
Motion regarding matters disclosed in executive session limited to those specified in motion for closure, and though no final action was taken as per New Mexico statutes section 10-15-1H1-8. Okay, updates. Fire chief.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Board of Trustees. You've got my packet, so I'll just be real quick. In my report, I got a correction on there about halfway down. It says there was 3 firefighters scheduled to take the Fire 1, Fire 2 at the Fire Academy. I've now got 4, and which is great. It's costing us a little money in rooms and stuff, which we did a requisition on this week.
Don't you have a grant paying?
But the grant, the $25,000 grant that I got, it pays for that because it's retention, and it's keeping our guys. They're gonna go get their Fire 2 certification actually. So when I do apply for more grants in the future through the Fire Protection or the Fire Grant Council, that makes a huge difference. It's gonna boost our probability of getting some good grants this next year, which I hope. We do got a new fire marshal support / inspector for our region. It used to be Esky. Now we've got Eloy Prada. He's going to be our new support inspector for the region, the western side of New Mexico. Look forward to working with him. He's a pretty nice guy. Esky went to fire prevention for the State Fire Marshal's Office and Department of Homeland Security, so I'll still work with him too. Talking about Esky, I partnered with Red Cross and with the Department of Homeland Security, and I'm gonna host a Sound the Alarm event in March. And what we're gonna do there, which is gonna help our ISO rating and give us some more points and more moolah. We're gonna go around our community, and those that need fire alarms in their houses, we can provide up to 3 fire alarms per household. And the fire department, since we're hosting it, will be the ones to install. And then at the same time, we can do our fire prevention and give them a little talk on exit strategies and what to do when their house catches fire, how to prevent fires, of course. And all that is recognized through the ISO, so we'll get some good points there. this year we're really focusing on training. I got two firefighters going to get their hazmat starting next week. They're going to go down to Los Lunas. All these classes are through the Fire Academy, so they're accredited certifications. Also, like I said, to help with getting some good points and getting more money with our grants. March 4th, I'll be hosting UNM Consortium training. It's Pit Crew CPR. It's kind of a CPR refresher, so anybody's welcome to come. It'll be March 4th. That'll be our first host at the new little training room we got downstairs, so that's going to be exciting. In April, I'll be hosting a Fire Academy class for Fire One for those in the county. It's actually open statewide, but to help our local fire departments around us, if they want to send some students over and get Fire One certified through the Fire Academy as well. I think if we try dropping their ISO ratings along with ours, it just all looks really good within Cibola County. I do have some hydrants scheduled to be tested again this year. This year I'm going to do 60 more. They're scheduled March 22nd and 23rd. I already got with Joe Ray. Looks like our wells and water system is okay, so we're good to go on that. Hopefully we got some good hydrants. If not, we'll fix them, or Joe Ray will. You guys did the PERA. I appreciate that. That's one I report every year. The Fire Marshal's office, they go to legislation. They ask for a certain amount of money to give the volunteers retirement. If they show up and do their meetings and trainings and show up to fire calls, they're eligible, which they don't have to pay nothing into it, which is great. So I think Fire Marshal's office went up to like $39 million in that deal, but that's statewide. Don't quote me on that. I don't know for sure. A little update on the facility build for the remodel on the upstairs. They submitted for CIDs. They're looking for permits and everything. Next week, they'll be down with an environmentalist to come and take some samples upstairs to see if we don't have any asbestos upstairs as well. Just so we don't have another surprise like we did on the lower portion of it. I don't expect to, but we didn't expect that before either. So, and then after that, like I said, we're just kind of slowly moving back downstairs, our offices downstairs and stuff. Big thank you to Michael and Rabbit. They came and got the internet rack and patch panel and everything set up. So looks like we'll have the internet hooked back up downstairs again probably this week, which is great. And then he updated our speed as well, so it's going to help us with our training and videos and whatnot. Otherwise, I think that's it, unless you guys got any questions for me that I can't answer.
Any questions?
Nope.
No. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Police chief.
Be a tough act to follow.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. That was a little long, so I'll try to make this quick. I think you guys have my report and Code Enforcement Animal Control. His reports as well. Just to touch on Animal Control, there was an issue with a contract or an MOU that's looks like we haven't updated since the early 80s, so we're working on that to fix some things there. But I did meet with their new coordinator, I think Dell something, but we fixed that problem with them taking our dogs. They weren't accepting them because Gabe is very proactive, and he's out there, and I think he's convinced that I give him 5% increase in pay every time he catches a dog. So I don't know where that came from, but he's very proactive and he's doing a fine job. Statistic-wise, pretty comparable, pretty consistent every month here. Again, the ones I pay close attention to is the auto accidents or crashes and the medical calls. So those were up a little bit, but not by too much. Just some brief highlights. We had our second Coffee with the Cop meeting. Trustee Lopez, thank you for attending. It was great to have you there, and you had some really good points and questions that we appreciate you showing up and participating. We had a countywide operation last week at our truck stops. This involved casinos, motels throughout the county. It was the first one with our task force we're trying to create. This is all the agencies in the area. If you got the paper Wednesday, Sheriff Diaz mentioned it a little bit, but we have a bunch of these planned in the future. So it was a great start. I was in the process of a 22-week leadership course, finally completed that. So a lot of good information that I started using during the course and plans for afterwards. We have a new hire, Nick Candelaria. He started last week. He's in his field training process, so he's doing well, and we're gonna go off of how quick he picks things up. He's got 4 years of experience, so that'll basically be his field training on how fast he picks things up and learns and gets acquainted to our area and how Milan PD operates. He comes with experience from Acoma PD. Had a lot of discussions about housing, mental health, food, counseling for our community. We've had a few different meetings with 3 different entities in the area, so I don't think all 3 groups knew that until I mentioned it, so hopefully we can combine all these resources. And today I learned of possible grants that are available that I'll have to check into that could provide housing, could provide some counseling, some mental stuff. So hopefully that'll help. Big push for updating active shooter training, which is something that I've been big on since I got here. We've been meeting with safety team throughout all the schools in the county and with the couple of staff at our Milan Elementary to update some of our plans. And we are continuing our relationship with Core Civic. We had another countywide meeting with the new warden and their staff, and they're making a lot of positive progress over there that since I've been here I haven't seen. So the new warden's doing a great job over there with getting the place cleaned up. I think that was pretty quick, not like others, but if anyone has any questions, and Mr. Mayor, you look great today. Did you have a photo shoot or what's going on?
I got a special dinner afterwards.
Oh, okay. Any questions?
Any questions?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Projects.
You guys have my report in front of you. I am not going to read it because I am still seeing double. If you get a chance to go by the soccer complex, check it out. It's going really well. We're looking at hopefully being done with the building aspect of it by March 5th. The drive access will be shortly after, if not prior to that. Airport Road is going good. Our end date is around mid-April, but the lights that we ordered are not going to be in until the beginning of May, so we'll have to go into project suspension. They'll open the road and everything before, but then when they'll come back and have to do the lights, they'll have to shut one lane on each side. Phase 2 and 3, hopefully we'll have a task order in front of you next meeting to get that one rolling, go out for bid on that, combining those projects together. We have a meeting next week to go over Cottonwood. Once we have the design in place, we can go out for funding. We don't have funding at this time for construction. Swimming pool, they're supposed to start March 4th. That'll include the center section of the roof and all the HVACs. There's a pre-con meeting next week for that one as well. Fire department phase 1, as you all know, is complete. I'm just waiting for final reimbursement. Phase 2, we've gotten all the notice of awards and everything in place, so they're ready to go. They've already started pulling permits, as Daniel said. Public works equipment, we were waiting for DFA approval to place the order. DFA gave us the approval this afternoon, so I'll be calling tomorrow to place the order for the truck. Truck's in Albuquerque, it needs to be outfitted. That's going to take a couple of weeks at least. Stanley Lift Station is 99% complete in design. That should go out to bid hopefully in the next 3 weeks. Water system improvements, we have an on-call contract with Wilson and Company that we're going to use to do the design on that. Do you guys have any questions?
Questions? No. Thank you. Good job and everything, all the projects. Village manager.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, thank you for your time. Denise mentioned the Stanley Lift Station. We're looking forward to getting that going, even though it's going to be a smaller project than we originally planned. The office team is continuing to meet in the mornings to discuss what's being done, any issues that may come up, the guidelines we can take, or the steps we can take to make everything better and more efficient here at the village. And it seems to have increased our productivity, and it's continuing to increase our morale. The village is following the Cibola Grant County, or the Grant Cibola County School District's delay schedule, even though we're going to look at that a little bit better after this week to make a little bit more defined decision. I am receiving text, phone calls, and emails from the school on their scheduled delays. This allows us to allow our employees to travel a safer time to work, because that 2-hour delay usually clears the streets where they're not quite as dangerous. And we do have some that are coming from rural areas. Of course, the utilities work as necessary. They may be out at 2 o'clock in the morning clearing streets, fixing leaks, so they're practically on their own schedule. The team has also put together a list of the bills that we are asking you to contact our legislators and speak to them concerning some of the damages they will do to not only Milan, but to other entities as well. It is our understanding that one of the bills that is going to decrease the GRTs will impact Bernalillo County by $30 million. They haven't gotten us the figures for us as of yet. Recreation is hosting a Easter Carnival. It'll be on April the 1st, and it'll be from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Kearns Park. The water, one of our wells has gone down. It should be repaired and up and working next week. So far, it hasn't caused any issues at this time. We've had divers this week inspecting the tanks. We'll get a report later in regard to those reports. Their crews are filling out their daily mileage inspections for all units and equipment. Streets installed, I believe it was streets, it may have been parks, but the handicap signs at Kearns has been installed, and I believe there's 6 in total. Property was cleaned and weeds cleaned, and the property fenced on uranium, and we were still storing our some of our materials there. The teams have removed snow. They've been trimming trees and removing them as well. Our mechanic is very busy. He's fixing equipment that has been down for some time. He's even managed to identify issues with some of the equipment that no one else has been able to identify. And with that, I stand for questions.
Any questions?
Can I add to that?
Sir?
Before you move on, can I add to that? We need to set a date for our spring cleanup.
Oh,
I forgot to mention that. End of March, early April is when you guys usually do it. I don't know if you want to do it first weekend in April or.
That's,
as long as we don't interfere with it at the same time that grants does.
Right. So, do you guys want to give me first and second recommendation, and then I can see what.
First of
Grant's
April's
doing?
fine, I think.
Mid-April.
The spring event is on the first weekend of April.
So mid-April, since we have the Easter thing in the first.
And in March, we'll probably do
windy.
March?
the
Let's,
last week of March, first week of April.
okay, last
We
week of
have-
March.
We have the Easter carnival, the first of April,
That's what I'm saying.
Mid-April?
mid-April.
Mid-April? Okay.
The first, the last of March wouldn't interfere with that because the first of April is the
The spring event.
spring event, and then the middle of April is the Easter,
Oh, is it?
right? Wrong.
Hang on, I'm pulling it up. Okay, the last weekend in March. So April 1st is the spring event. Where's Easter?
Easter's the 9th.
So we could shoot for the 15th or the 22nd of April. You want to go that route?
Is anybody,
15th is
everybody good with the 15th of April?
That's fine.
Of April?
Okay,
Okay.
we'll go that way.
Okay, and I will double check with Grants before I schedule.
Yeah. Okay. Board comments. Trustee Lopez.
Just thanks to our first responders, employees for doing a good job. You guys have been really busy, and especially. And, I did attend that coffee with a clock, and I encourage anybody that have any concerns to go. It was really informative, and just stay warm. Thank you.
Stay warm, yes. Trustee Mercer.
Not at this time.
Trustee Archuleta.
I'll go ahead and echo Trustee Lopez. Thank you all for everything you guys do. Again, if we'd like to encourage the community to come out, voice your opinions, voice your concerns. We're here to serve the people of Milan. I do want to give a special kudos to Dre and his crew. I did get the opportunity to come a couple weeks ago and tour the wells, and the housekeeping is great. That's something that the state comes in and looks at. It's one of the main things they look at is your housekeeping, groundskeeping. Everything was pretty much up to par. It was nice to go and see how we treat the water here in Milan, and see that it's being treated with all the due diligence that's put into it with these guys, from the cleanliness of the building and the stuff they do to all the time they put into caring for the water and actually treating it. It shows a lot. Other than that, that's all I got at this time.
Thank you, sir.
I don't have anything.
Okay, that leaves enough time for me then. No, I was going to say, not the same thing that Trustee Archuleta said, but I call them the unsung heroes from the street department and water department. Nobody ever says, you guys do a good job of doing it. So with the snow that we have had, and they've taken care of that in a professional way, and they still have time to clean up. I want to thank Mr. Les Gaines from Stewart Brothers. I had a good conversation with him last week, and so I went over there to ask for some pipe, some freebies, and that we will use at the entrance of the soccer field. And he was kind enough to. He kept me there for quite a while, but he was kind enough to give us four pipes. And after this week, I'm sure he's going to call me because he's too involved with the quad right now, and he said, I'll call you next week, but I figure he's not going to call me this week. So it'll be next week. But thank them for stepping up, and all I have to do is ask, I guess. That's good. And congratulations to the Los Alamitos 7th and 8th grade girls basketball teams. Last year the 8th grade team went undefeated. This year, the 7th grade team went undefeated, and they took first place at the Rio Rancho tournament. During and after the tournament, you listen to people talking and stuff. There was some great comments about our girls, and how they were they were disciplined, they were good sports, and they were very talented. And they are coached by Vivian Carlson. Spring sports are now starting. If you can attend any baseball, the baseball team has a brand new baseball field turfed. The girls softball, I believe, will the second week or third week of March is when they're supposed to finish that, and that also would be turfed. So that is a great thing for Grand San Milan to have them play on turf field. So if you can, go watch one or two of their games at least. And now I want to. It's a day late, but I wanted to wish our manager Linda Cook happy birthday. A very happy birthday. And I personally don't think you look a day over 50. I might be wrong. I might be wrong, but anyway.
I'll take it.
Anyways, she had a birthday yesterday. If you can donate to St. Jude's Children's Hospital, please do so. When you see a veteran, thank her or him for their services and sacrifices. And may God bless America, and may God continue to bless the village of Milan. Thank you. Announcements. Planning and Zoning meeting March 2nd, 2023 at 4:30 p.m. Board of Trustees regular meeting March 16th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. And with that, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Trustee Archuleta, second by Mayor Pro Tem Brumble. Trustee Mercer.
Yes.
Trustee Lopez.
Yes.
Trustee Archuleta.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brumble.
Yes.
Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.